Recently, you've probably seen a rise of WoW content creators or players in general hopping over to try out old school RuneScape across a variety of platforms. For many people at the moment, it's going to be a totally new game to them and they're giving it a go and going in blind. And it's great to see so many people giving this game an honest try and finding out what all the hype is about, because old school RuneScape has always done many things differently compared to other MMOs, and over time it's truly begun to grow because of that. In fact, at the moment it's seeing record player counts, with over 125,000 concurrent players last weekend and a peak of nearly 180,000. Suffice to say, this very basic looking point and click MMO is absolutely one of the most popular picks for the whole genre in 2025, and with old school RuneScape itself being a bit over a decade old, it's showing no signs of slowing down anytime soon. What separates it out from other MMORPGs though, and why now is it seeing peak player counts? Well, myself, I'm not really somebody who can hop in blind to old school RuneScape. I've played it, you know, a bit here and there. In fact, before I even played World of Warcraft, I was playing RuneScape, and I was there day one when old school released. So I think I've got a reasonably good idea of why this game excels and why now people are getting hooked on it. So today I wanted to cover 10 of the largest reasons people, especially WoW players, are now giving old school RuneScape a go and finding out just how good it can be. As WoW progressed, there was more chore-based content that became necessary in the game to upkeep your character, whether those were daily, weekly, or monthly. Blizzard have definitely dialed back on this type of content, especially since the Battle for Azeroth and Shadowlands era of the game, insofar as making grinds mandatory for power progression, but in WoW you are still absolutely held back by how many times you can do a thing on a daily and weekly basis. Things such as upgrade currencies, reputation farm quests, mount farms from old raids, and so on. These things might not be as big of a deal, but the game still dictates how much you get to do a certain thing, and then you have to go make an alt if you want to do it again. Old school RuneScape in comparison has very little in the way of this type of content. There is one minigame called Tears of Gothics, which gives some experience to your lowest stats that's available once per week. Other than that, there's farming and birdhouse runs, which may all be done a bunch of times per day. They aren't on any lockout though, it's just you go and plant stuff, they grow, and then you gather them. For bosses or PVM, which is what they call PvE for some reason, there are no lockouts at all on anything. You just go grind stuff. As a consequence, things do have much lower drop rates. You can do a boss over 100 times and not see the drop you're after. However, nearly everything is tradable, so you can always work towards something passively and then buy it, unless you're on an account that has restrictions, but we'll get more on that later. Overall in RuneScape, there's no feeling that you need to log in and do XYZ thing before you can start playing and doing whatever else you want to do. There's no reset day, there's no FOMO. You just set your goals and you start working on them. Next up, so you guys have phones, right? Well, thanks to old school RuneScape combat being, well, you just click stuff really. Hey, it works pretty good on a phone it turns out. RuneScape's app for phones has existed for years at this point in time, and it gives you a bit more choice on your end in terms of when you can play and what type of activities in the game you want to do. It opens up the game to way more players than it potentially would have otherwise. Are there even any other very popular MMOs that have both PC and mobile ports at the moment? I'm not entirely sure that there are, or that there could potentially even be. Saying that, I think WoW's one button mode and the new UI features are setting it up for a console port, but maybe those things would serve mobile too, who knows. Either way, mobile for old school exists, and it's something that a lot of other MMOs just can't compete with. In many other games, quests have some kind of story behind them, but they boil down to you needing to deal with enemies or collect things like a good 70 to 80% of the time, I swear. The quest writers over at Blizzard must be going crazy coming up with their 320-second reasoning for you to go and clear a bandit camp. In RuneScape, quests are actual quests. They're stories that take you on a journey. This ranges from the super simple starter quests, which are going to take you no time at all the way to Grandmaster quests, which will have you exploring the whole land of Gielinor. There are over 100 quests in total, and these will take you a very long time to complete, believe me. You'll also need to train your stats to unlock certain quests, and various training methods, bosses, gear upgrades, and more more are locked behind the quests in Old School. Quests are both a basic and key point of account progression, and something that everyone will want to do. As for quests which are simply go kill X number of Y thing, there is actually a skill in the game called Slayer, where you are assigned to kill a certain number of an enemy. Old School RuneScape definitely has a unique spin on quests, and more are always being added to extend the content here. Next up, I'm not gonna lie, Old School is a pretty overwhelming game at first. You'll log in, you'll do the tutorial, and you'll think, okay, so like, what do I do now then? And the answer is pretty much whatever takes your fancy. Start playing the game and goals will appear. This inevitably happens with any MMO when they've existed for such a long period of time. Old School RuneScape, I must say though, does have a very extensive wiki, and you can even search via an in-game button. So unless you're doing some kind of challenge run, you're gonna have the wiki open all of the time. It doesn't matter how long you've played RuneScape, everyone uses the wiki daily. It can always help if you're stuck with available training methods, information on bosses, drop rates of items to see how dry you are so you can complain, and so on. It's a great tool to have, and you should be getting familiar with it if you're playing the game, even as a beginner. Old School RuneScape does add-ons a bit differently, so you have to download the RuneLite client to get hold of plugins, which is what they call add-ons. Similar to add-ons, plugins are player-made modifications to the game to customize and improve certain aspects of it. There are a ton of plugins available, and you should definitely have a look through the basic ones that come with RuneLite. Some of the most popular ones are the Quest Helper, which makes quests straightforwards because some of those early quests that they released are pretty cryptic in terms of what you need to be doing at times. 117 HD mode enhances the graphics of the game massively and makes it look way better in my opinion, and Stretch mode lets you modify the window size of Old School so it can go full screen instead of being a small box. Overall, there's basically a plugin for everything that you could possibly think of, and if it's not on the default list, maybe it'll be on the plugin hub instead. But as always, Google will be your friend here. If you can think of something you want, it probably exists, you just need to go looking for it. Next up is that Old School features temporary game modes and permanently restricted character modes as well. Temporary game modes include things such as leagues. These are seasonal servers which modify the rules of the base game to let you do crazy stuff which would usually be impossible, such as maxing out your stats in a few hours, doing crazy levels of damage, changing how weapons work, or introducing new temporary items. It's definitely a bit more on the side of full veteran players who have done a lot of the base game, but it can be fun to try out for a few weeks when they come up. There are cosmetic rewards available from this, which are usable in the main game too. I guess you could call that FOMO if you really wanted to, but it's pretty minor stuff and it's really just for fun. There's also a temporary game mode called Deadman mode, which is more or less everywhere in the game is PvP. This is definitely for veteran players, as the skill cap in Old School PvP for just clicking stuff is way higher than you would expect. Talking about restricted accounts, these all revolve around Iron Man mode. This is a character that cannot trade or use the Grand Exchange. That's Old School's auction house, meaning you are self-sufficient in all aspects of the game. And RuneScape works so well, it's like the game is almost made for Iron Man mode to exist. After all characters can train all stats, there will always be something to do, and account upgrades from bosses feel incredibly meaningful. There are variations of Iron Man 2, such as Hardcore. This is a one-life character, but if you die, you just downgrade to a regular Iron Man, you don't lose your character. Ultimate Iron Man, which is no banking on top of the previous restrictions. Only try this if you are an Old School RuneScape veteran. Removing banks from the game is a bigger deal than you can possibly imagine. And Group Iron Man, which are groups of 2 to 5 Iron Man who share a storage box and can trade with one another. It allows some cooperative progression, helps with farming, drops and so on. If you're a newer player, just a regular account or a standard Iron Man are both good though in my opinion. Personally, I only play Iron Man in RuneScape these days. I used to play a main, but overall Iron Man just has more satisfying long-term progression. Old School RuneScape is the ultimate distraction and diversion game. As you play, you'll set yourself goals such as hitting a certain combat level, working towards buying an item, or maybe completing a quest. You'll find though as you play through, the amount the game opens up and keeps delivering practically never ends. You'll start training a skill for a quest, and you'll then get a clue scroll goal to complete, and you think, you know what, I'll do that real fast. But then you need to get an item you don't have for that clue, so you go do some mining and smithing to make that item, and then you find out about stashing clue items, and then you need to get to a new area for the clue, but you don't have the quest for the area yet, so you check the quest and see you need a stat you don't have yet, and yeah, you get the idea. The whole of the game is like this. There will always be something else to do, and there is tons of content for all levels of the game as well. We're getting into the top 3 territory now of things which I think make Old School really stand out. Old School RuneScape has perhaps the longest character progression you will find in an MMORPG. The concept of having a leveling portion of the game and then an endgame portion of the game doesn't exist. There is roughly an early game, a mid game, and a late game, and these aren't exactly defined. People would tell you they're different things, but they'll be roughly based on your stats and gear, with early being somewhere up to levels 50 or 60 I would say, mid 70 to 80 thereabouts, and late 85 plus. Each stage of the game is more about where is your account up to, which quests have you done, what items do you have, how much gold do you have, and of course your player ability. There will be people with what is a mid-game account doing super late-game stuff just because they're skilled enough to do so, and whether you're on a main or a regular account or an Iron Man, each stage of the game has so much to do. Jagex have really built out options over the past few years to encourage multiple activities at different level brackets within the game as well. You will quite literally never complete this game, whereas in other MMOs you get to max level, then you start playing the game. Getting any skill to max level in RuneScape will be a journey in itself, and to be honest, it's not even necessary to start doing anything the majority of the time. And number 2, I want to talk gear, because on top of that in Old School RuneScape there is no consistent vertical gear grinding where your power is being reset every 6 months or so. Now of course there is new content added where bosses drop better gear. I mean come on, the game's been out for over a decade now, you better believe a character in BIS is massively stronger than they used to be, but that doesn't take away from the huge amount of content available in this game. Your character, the levels you've achieved, their gear, your gold and so on will always be there if you decide to take a break, and when you come back there may be a better method of doing something, but the time you would have invested previously is still as valuable as ever. There is no gear treadmill or need to keep up with the current patch. When you reach that stuff it will be there, but it doesn't matter how long it takes you to get there. This feeling of stats and gear being timeless are a huge strength that other MMOs simply can't compete with, because they keep adding new stuff on top that replaces what exists instead of adding to it. And at number 1, the thing that really ties all of this together is the fact that Old School RuneScape is, and always has been, extremely solo player friendly. People get very hung up on the genre being called massively multiplayer and think you need to be part of a group at all times, but guess what? You're in a world with thousands of other people. You can interact, you can group, you can talk if you want to, or not. It's up to you. The choice is in the player's hands. The amount of content which needs a group in Old School RuneScape is tiny. There is an early game quest and a super late game raid, and for that raid people have soloed it, you just need to be insane at the game. This is what really separates Old School RuneScape. You can progress your account solo for about 99.9% of the game. Other MMOs have a gear treadmill, as all the relevant endgame stuff needs you to group, and as new content becomes available, people move on to that, which means no more groups for older content, so older content dies. Nearly all the gear in the game is also tradable, so you can skip certain grinds you just don't like, or get a weapon that's a bigger account upgrade for a certain piece of content, and then sell it later on to do something else. This is again different from most other MMOs where you must do the most recent group-based content for gear, and that gear will be relevant for that particular tier for 4 to 6 months or less. Or of course you can just group up for pretty much everything as well if you want to. Again, it's in your hands. It's your choice. This is why it works so well. And let's be honest, a lot of MMO players have been gaming for many years now across so many different genres. You probably just have less time to commit to a schedule of saying, I will raid on this day at this time, or knowing that you can play a tier long enough to gear up and see all the content, or just being able to sit down for an hour or two in the evening sometimes. When a game is broken down to 4 to 6 months of relevant content, and then we reset, it's no wonder people begin to see the rotating wheel that's kept them going. Overall, old school RuneScape breaks the meta that WoW and many other games afterwards cemented so many years ago. You can leave for literally years, come back, and not have lost any player power. There is little fear of missing out based content or time gating. There is almost infinite account progression. You're simply just not gonna complete this game. There are different game modes too, from regular accounts, Iron Man, and so on. It allows you to have some different ways to see the game. It's super solo player friendly, and it's on mobile, so you can really do progression when you want. And just to throw it in as well, there's no in-game shop or cosmetics either. There is a bond, which is the equivalent of a WoW token and works in the same way, but that's it. And you just don't ever fall behind in old school RuneScape. Look, if you log in now, you're already a decade behind. Are you really going to be worrying about that? I know I've been a RuneScape player for even longer than I've played WoW, and seeing old school grow year on year, it's amazing to see it, and the game absolutely deserves the overwhelming positivity that it receives. You know, it's funny, people have been waiting for an MMO that does something dramatically different from World of Warcraft for years, and we've seen so many failed WoW clones come and go, but the answer to the MMO that does something new has been in front of us for longer than WoW has even existed. And as someone with a few hours here and there in both WoW and RuneScape, I could absolutely recommend it. But those are just 10 of what I think the biggest selling points of old school RuneScape are. There are definitely more things than this, but that should give you an idea of what this game is all about. Let me know what you reckon. Have you already given old school RuneScape a go? Thinking of giving it a go? Are there any other big points you would have liked to hear about? Drop a comment down below. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening in, and I'll see you all in the next one very soon.